I don't know if they can hear me, but I do see that we're streaming on YouTube, so that means it is being recorded, hopefully.
Yes. Hi, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Lee, there was a little thing where they get tile or view up on the top right.
Oh, is that,
Yeah, I changed it. I think. Yeah.
okay, that lagged a lot. I don't know what just happened.
No, that was a long way, yeah.
That was really long.
Yeah, it is that.
Why is? Okay, that lagged a lot. I don't know what just happened.
No, there was a big delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is that.
Why is? Okay, that lagged a lot. I don't know what just happened.
It's kind of repeating itself. It's a big delay.
No, I think we, here. Here. Mute us.
Can you use it?
Noise.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Aviva, how do you stand so still? I can't do that.
I just got or I'm borrowing my roommate's phone, like claw thing.
Okay, can everybody hear us now?
Yeah, I'm trying to adjust.
Can anyone hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you. Or I can.
Loud and clear.
All muted?
But you're spinning. Can't hear.
Are they all muted? It looks like they're all muted. I see,
Yeah, Lee, they're all muted.
But we can unmute at least tonight. It is working.
Yeah, it seems to be working normal.
I hope I was muted the other night while I was having dinner. Not that I was
If you
doing
can
that when
hear
I
us,
was on
I'm
camera.
sorry we are experiencing some technical difficulties.
can you guys hear us? Can you raise your hand?
They can hear
All
it.
right,
They
so
can
they
hear us.
can
We can
hear
hear
us,
them.
but we cannot
can't
hear
hear
them.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, Ken. I don't think people in the
We
foyer
cannot hear
can.
any of you.
What's Lee doing over there?
Oh, people, only the panelists are hearing each
Yes,
other?
Right, can you guys
Yeah.
hear
Correct.
us?
We can hear you.
we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear them.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You know what, Joe?
I don't mean,
We can only do so many jokes in a meeting.
I'm sorry. I'm done now for the jokes.
Can't hear anything.
What'd you have for
Oh,
dinner?
Did you eat before tonight? You
Yeah.
ate dinner already?
You too, thank you.
You already ate, Joe?
I did.
Wow.
I had shepherd's pie. At a thing.
Oh, yes, at the event. At
Yeah.
the event.
That's
Okay.
nice.
I don't know.
No, I don't. Oh, we can hear you.
Okay, we hear
I hear
you.
you too.
Yeah.
Now we can hear
Okay.
you.
All right. So we have,
But when we talk, we hear an echo.
Is it still echoing?
We're not hearing the echo now, so.
Let me turn this down.
Is Lee there?
Yes.
Lee?
Yeah.
I'm seeing a document on the website that says business meeting minutes, Wednesday, March 18th. Oh, this is 2020. Never mind. I'm sorry.
All right.
Are you
so-
still hearing an echo? Oh, no, I should be quiet.
No, it's much better.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
it's-
All right, so why don't we get started, because it's past 6 o'clock, okay? All right, we're ready? Okay, welcome to business meeting for Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
States of America,
and to the republic
to the republic.
for which it stands,
which it stands,
One
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty,
and justice for all.
Oh,
for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Okay, now I can unmute. Thank you. I'm present.
okay. Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
President Ressinetti.
Present.
It's all 7 here.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have approval of the minutes. Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Madam President. I stand and ask for unanimous approval of the business meeting minutes of March 3rd, 2021.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
We need a second.
yeah, we need a second. Sorry, go ahead.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are they still muted again, Lee? They're all muted. Why is that?
I'm not. That's weird. I haven't touched anything.
Okay, we'll just have to, can you unmute them? There you go.
The thing is, if we mute ourselves again due to background noise, we're locked out from unmuting again.
Okay.
That's what's happening.
Oh, okay, because I didn't do that. Oh, that makes sense.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so we have one item tonight under approval of appointments. You've each been provided a copy of the resume for the new CDAC City Council at Large appointment. So we discussed this at our March 1st work session. Does anyone have any discussion on this appointment, or would anyone like to make a motion?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion for the City Council to appoint Kathy Granger as the City Council CDAC at Large member.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have the clerk take roll call.
Okay, and then this needs, you need to state the name as well.
Yes.
Councilman Scaringi,
Kathy Granger.
Councilwoman Riley,
Kathy Granger.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Kathy Granger.
Councilman Burns,
Kathy Granger.
Councilman Strawn,
Kathy Granger.
Councilman Scanlon,
Kathy Granger.
President Ressinetti.
Kathy Granger.
Okay, that is all 7 for Kathy Granger.
Great, thank you. and Congratulations, Kathy. Okay, really quickly, before we get to public comment, just a friendly reminder that we have a public hearing coming up on Monday, March 22nd at 6 p.m., which will be open for residents to call in regarding the final draft plan from the Binghamton Police Reform and Reinvention Collaboration. And now we're going to move on to our public comments. City residents are welcome to call in. You will each have 5 minutes to speak on city issues. And as always, please, I ask you to be respectful. Grace, could you please read that number for folks to call in?
The number to call is 607-772-6666. 7100. Again, 772-7100. And I do have two letters that I will really read once we conclude the public comment.
Madam President,
Yes, Councilman Cruz.
I would like to just point out to Lee that on the city calendar, it is not listed yet, our public hearing.
Okay, Lee, let's make sure that goes on. Okay, thank you for bringing us to our attention. Okay.
Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your full name and address.
No.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to put you on speaker. Okay, this is Dan Livingston. He lives on Park Street in Binghamton.
Hi, yes. So I was watching the meeting on Monday, and there has clearly been a breakdown in communication between City Hall staff, including the mayor, and our people over at the sewage treatment plant. Now, whatever the reason for the lack of communication or miscommunication, it's contingent on the city council to play its role as an independent oversight body and help bring this process back on track. Now, there's never a good time for this kind of rift to form at our most critical city asset, and especially not while an active process of handing off new components from private contractors is still underway. And I hear plant staff saying that they lack documentation in these O&M manuals that's critical to their ability to operate the facility. Apparently, a trove of these O&M manuals was only just furnished to them a couple of weeks ago by City Hall staff. Now, these documents being critical to populating the computer systems, which formulate the plant's maintenance plan and inventory tracking, the very processes this audit proposes to assess, at this point, it's incumbent on each of you to take the time to visit with plant staff and hear what they have to say about all of this. Keep in mind, though, that you're in a position of power over these people. City Hall is actively trying to privatize their jobs, and they don't feel as though the city values the work that they do. It won't be a simple matter to build the trust necessary to have a candid conversation with many of these folks, but it is possible. It all starts with a little outreach and a lot of listening. Now, the mayor didn't magically make the effluent come out of the other end of this facility clean, and he didn't magically operate the facility at $1.25 million less than the lowest bidder on our privatization contract. It's because the people at the plant care about this community and take pride in their work that we can all enjoy results like these. Just like I've heard many of you profess at these meetings, your appreciation and adulation for the work our street crews and the DPW have done over the last year, it's time for you to start considering how your words can help our plant employees feel appreciated and how your actions can help support them in the work that they do. Now, if you feel that an audit is necessary to establish a baseline to monitor operations at the plant, then ask yourself why this baseline wasn't established either before finalizing the handoff from the private construction contractors to plant personnel, or why this baseline is being pushed before the computer system has even been fully populated with critical information. You don't have to be a certified wastewater operator or a computer programmer to understand that auditing a system to assess how effectively it is managing this facility before that system has been set up is a critically flawed idea. Now, with the mayor still actively pursuing privatization at the plant, it's no wonder the workforce is reacting to what's going on as though their work and their jobs are under attack. If you really care about protecting the investment that the ratepayers of this valley have made in this facility, it starts with talking to, and most importantly, listening to the people who work at the plant, because they are the experts on this facility. not the Veolia corporate bosses in France. And they have already been protecting the investments that the ratepayers of the valley have made, and they'll continue to do so for years to come.
Yes. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your first and last name and your address. Give me 1 second and I will put you on speaker. Hey, this is Emily Christian and she lives on Vessel Ave in Binghamton.
Hi.
Let me move this a little bit. There you go. You can begin, that should be better.
Great, thank you. This contract to conduct a maintenance audit will not be independent. The firm the city will be contracting with, Veolia, was involved with the construction of the plant. Plant staff and management have reported countless issues stemming from construction and the subsequent handoff from Veolia and other contractors to the plant staff. At the working session on Monday, the plant's manager, Charlie Pearsall, stated that the staff at the plant had not received some of the operating and maintenance manuals they need in order to properly check on all the equipment in their care. On the day that the request for proposals for the audit went live, the city released a plethora of operating and maintenance manuals to the staff, whereas the staff have asked for these manuals for quite some time. This is undoubtedly suspicious. The claim by the city that staff at Monday's meeting that the staff had been given preliminary or temporary manuals is also unjustified. The only thing that exists is the original manual, which is in electronic form, and without it, maintenance and operation of the equipment is difficult. It's unclear whether the contractors, such as Jacobs or Veolia, have not made these manuals available to the city, or whether the city has just sat on them. In either case, the city, by not doing everything in its power to supply these manuals to the staff in a timely manner, has unfortunately been negligent. Veolia clearly has an interest in telling a story about the work that was done by their firm in building the plant and the work that was done by our city staff and management of the plant. If you read the marketing materials, they included in the work session packet on Monday the 15th, they also have a vested interest, Veolia also has a vested interest in who manages the plant because they specialize in privatization of water and sewer infrastructure. It is unconscionable the city has not involved the plant staff with intimate knowledge of this public resource, and furthermore that the city continues to sideline them in this way. These are hardworking people who do a vital and thankless job, and having a company like Veolia, who unfortunately often leaves water sewage treatment plants in their communities in worse shape than before, is dangerous. While this may sound like a beautiful infrastructure development proposal for a very long-term issue, it's clear from American municipal history that this trajectory will unfortunately cause future short and long-term problems. Thank you.
Okay, again, the number to call is 7. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Hi, can you hear me? Okay, please state your first and last name and your address. Hold on, let me put you on speaker really quick. This is Jonathan Weisberg. He lives on Clifton Boulevard. You may begin.
I'm just calling today to thank the city clerk's office and the Department of Public Works for being incredible throughout this pandemic and working tirelessly for the city. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, again, the number to call is. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your first and last name and your address. Give me 1 second and I'll put you on speaker. Okay, this is Megan Carey and she lives on 22 Seminary Ave. You may begin.
I'm really disgusted by the possibility that Veolia could be hired by the city to perform a maintenance audit. This company has a track record of enabling infrastructural and health neglect on municipalities across the country. Just a year ago, Veolia was forced to pay out over $600 million after being charged with professional neglect in Flint, Michigan and the surrounding area. Because of Veolia's negligence, the people of Flint have been without a clean water source for over 5 years. Tens of thousands of people were exposed to unhealthy levels of lead and experienced side effects such as rashes, hair loss, and the contraction of Legionnaire's disease. Children had lead in their blood for the most part that was between double and triple the healthy amount. This will most likely lead to brain development issues, hearing impairment, and cardiovascular disease that will affect many of these children for the rest of their lives. Around 100 people across Flint died from the aftermath of the water crisis. It bewilders me that this company is even being considered to conduct any work within the city of Binghamton. If the mayor has any concerns for the residents that live here, he should reconsider this proposal immediately.
Okay, again, the number to call is 772-7100. 772. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your full name and your address. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put you on speaker. Just give me 1 second. This is Tina Chronopoulos, and she lives on Laurel Ave. You may begin.
Good evening. My representative on council is Sophia Resoniti. I'd like to address the following 3 issues. I'm appalled by what I witnessed at the working session of City Council this past Monday. Let me tell you what I saw. I saw and heard a mayor who bullies and disparages not only city employees, but elected council members. I saw Mayor David interrupting and speaking in a disdainful tone, intent on spinning a narrative to make everyone but himself and his cronies look bad. I am sorry for those who work for the city and have to endure this abusive and toxic behavior. I also saw a powerless city council. Council President Resoniti entirely gave up her position and allowed the mayor to essentially dominate proceedings. Finally, I saw and heard Republican council members fall over themselves to ask many questions about the potential contract for the management of Ely Park Golf Course. And yet, when it came to asking questions about contracting with Veolia for the audit of the sewage treatment plant, the Republican council members just sat there and said nothing. To me, it looks like you are beholden to the mayor. Let me remind you that it is your duty to represent the interests of your constituents and to act as a check on the executive. The disappearance of the recording of the meeting is also especially telling. The second thing I want to talk about is the obsession held by the mayor and Councilman Scanlon with plot. Your comments 2 weeks ago, Councilman Scanlon, were unprofessional, as usual. Council President Resoniti did not see fit to even raise an eyebrow in reprimand, thereby condoning your words and once again demonstrating that neither she nor you respect your colleagues. I did a bit of snooping around and found out that PLOT stands for the following. They are a collective working around issues of race, class, gender, income inequality, and corruption in government. This question is for you, Councilman Scanlon, and of course the mayor. Can you address in your comments tonight what exactly it is about PLOT you find problematic? You can say something like this. I, Tina Chronopoulos, support the fight against racism, classism, sexism, income inequality, and corruption in government. If you can't say that, then I guess I have my answer. The third thing I want to talk about relates to the working session in December, when the Republican on council gave Elliot Wagner, superintendent of the sewage plant, the 3rd degree. At the time, I was wondering why you were taking such an interest in the plant. You were very obviously trying to portray the superintendent and his staff as incompetent. At the time, I thought it was really weird that a bunch of rubber-stamping elected officials suddenly were deeply interested in trying to understand the workings of the plant. I even got called out for it. Well, here we are in March, and City Council is considering voting on a contract to have a company called Veolia carry out an audit of the sewage treatment plant. Why has Veolia been chosen over other companies? Is it because Veolia was involved with the construction and now wants to do a sort of retroactive audit of its own work and cover up anything it might have done wrong? For those who don't know, Veolia is the company that is responsible for carelessness and double dealing which allowed the lead poisoning in Flint, Michigan to go unchecked. Let me tell you another story that is less well known. In 2012, the water system in Pittsburgh was outdated and its water and sewage authority was struggling. The city chose to work with Veolia to help with day-to-day operations. During the first year or two, some savings were made. By the end of 2015, under the guidance of Veolia, the authority had sent 23 employees packing, including the safety and water quality managers, as well as the heads of finance and engineering. Long story short, under Veolia's watch, the authority switched out a supplement that is usually added to water to prevent lead pipes from corroding and leaching into the water. When the water was tested in 2016, the city's lead levels were up and were actually above federal standards.
You have 1 minute
Not only
left.
that, about a year after Veolia was brought on, a 20% rate raise was approved. In the end, Pittsburgh ended its contract with Veolia, which had cost the city $11 million. What was the result? A financial, environmental, and public health disaster. Do you really think that this is the kind of company our small city should be contracting with? A company that makes its money by quick fixes and ignores the bigger picture? A company that left Pittsburgh's water and sewage authority in worse shape than it was before? In the words of a former employee at the authority, quote, "Veolia will come in, rape your water company, and leave with money bags," unquote. I urge you to not authorize the mayor's request and find a different company to do the audit. Better yet, scrap the audit and let the qualified employees at the plant tell you what they really need. Thank you.
The number to call is 772-7100. Again, it's 772-7100. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your full name and address. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second and I will put you on speaker. Okay, this is Brian Whitbeck and he lives on 11 Main Street and it's in Halsted, PA.
Make a motion to waive the rules.
Yeah, just to make a motion. In a second.
Second,
I'll second.
that was council. Oh, well,
Okay, you can begin.
Okay, my name is Brian Whitbeck. I am a mechanic at the wastewater treatment plant. So there was an RFP for the wastewater treatment plant. When the RFP became public knowledge, the plant engineer received OEMs for equipment that has been turned over to the plant about a year ago. Maybe this is a coincidence that the two went hand in hand, and now that the city or the mayor wants our maintenance records for the equipment that has been installed, what has been done to the equipment since it's been installed and running. The plant has purchased a program called CMMS. We, the mechanics, have been tasked with putting the assets in the CMMS program. So back when the equipment was installed, we went around the plant, copied model numbers and serial numbers, and uploaded them into the CMMS program. So when this program, it allows you to put a maintenance schedule to each asset. Now, to build a preventive maintenance for a piece of equipment, you need what the manufacturer of the piece of equipment recommends. And you find that in the OEM. Back in August 5th of 2019, a meeting with City Council and Adam Afifi, he stated that we need the OEMs, which we finally received March 2021. Okay, City Council has also asked about spare parts that has supposed to be turned over to the plant. We did in fact receive parts. Were they the right parts? Not sure. The parts that were supposed to be put on a spreadsheet with a name, part number, description, and manufacturer, we were handed a sheet with a spec number on it, and the person stated that all the parts are there according to the spec sheet. We, the plant staff, had to get this information and record it in the CMMS program. What should have been and easy process now has turned into countless hours of the mechanics getting this information and putting it in the CMMS program. I am proud to say that the plant personnel have worked their butts off and that we have been making permit according to the DEC. That was my written statement. The company Violi, I guess we're asked for them to, I guess, shadow us, and we're supposed to talk to them and about our maintenance program and everything else. But isn't Violi also one of the companies that is bidding for the privatization and the contract for the plant? Am I the only one that sees this as a conflict of interest? Again, Jacobs was the management company that was supposedly overseeing all this project and stuff like that. They actually were holding the OEMs and supposedly had to finalize and okay the OEMs. But then, of course, we didn't have the OEMs to do the maintenance programs, to put them in the CMMS for preventive maintenance, check the oil, change the oil, when the oil was supposed to be changed. That's it. Thank you.
The number to call is 772-7100, 772-7100. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your full name and address. Give me 1 second. Speaker. This is Tarek Abdelzam. He lives on Tremont Ave.
Good evening. I want to raise an issue that I've raised in the past. It still seems as if the city clerk cannot be bothered to follow New York State laws over public meetings and making the agenda and the meeting minutes available for all of board estimate and apportionment. And just to be clear, Code of Ordinances Part 1, Section 1830, the mayor shall be president of the board and the city clerk shall act as secretary thereof. The secretary shall keep a journal of all the proceedings of the board. And we know that all board meetings need to comply with open meeting laws. That is making agenda and meeting minutes available on a website if it is available. The city clerk is an employee of the city council. The city council has a Republican majority. So I assume that, I can only assume, since I've brought this up repeatedly over years, that just like past council presidents, Councilwoman Rezanidi doesn't care about transparency and doesn't care to fix it when such a egregious issue has been brought to your attention. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's just been busy. I'll offer you some grace. I just ask that pretty much every meeting over the last few years where the city clerk has failed to comply with laws, that you go back and put those documents up. I also want to offer some history on the Ely Park Golf Course. I'm puzzled as to what's happening. The golf fund used to be an independent golf fund, like the other enterprise funds, would consistently run a deficit every year. In 2007, the golf fund was about $352,000 in the hole. It was averaging about $100,000 deficit every year. That had to be covered by taxpayers. The general fund had to make the golf fund whole. And there was a decision by the prior administration and the prior council that it didn't seem fair for homeowners all across the city to be subsidizing golfers, which represented maybe 1 or 2% of the residents of Binghamton and many other out of town residents. At the time when that was ended in 2007, the golf fund budget was $481,000. It's still running a $100,000 deficit. Now, granted, that was 14 years ago. Fees have increased, but this budget you're entering into, $810,000 with this private vendor that's going to manage it. In other words, if the expenses fall short $200,000, $300,000, that again will need to be subsidized by all of the taxpayers. We used to make a profit off the Ely Park Golf Course. When we ended the Gulf Fund, we bid it out, vendors paid us. We put the risk on the private market. Right now, what you're doing is you're putting the risk of a luxury back on the city taxpayers. And it looks like it could be a pretty significant risk. I believe the contract, or at least the proposal, suggests that this is going to be a 5-year term. I would strongly encourage council to change that to maybe 2 or 3 years to see how it goes. Unfortunately, council doesn't have a contract before it. Like past contracts, this administration, for whatever reason, denies you the opportunity to carry out your full responsibility. Let me be very clear, contracts under 10,000 are approved by Board of Contract and Supply. And the language in that is very clear. The Board of Contract Supply, all proposed contracts after preparation thereof shall be approved by resolution by the board. But yet council doesn't follow that same procedure, or at least the mayor denies you the chance to follow that same procedure.
You have 1 minute
I'll say
left.
1 minute left, thank you. I think the council should stop this practice of granting the mayor authority to negotiate and enter into contracts. Just like the Code of Ordinance requires for the contract and supply, council should be afforded that same privilege to carry out your responsibilities and fiduciary duties to the residents. You can tell the mayor, negotiate your contract, then come down after preparation thereof and present you all a clear contract so you can then again do your due diligence. If that does happen, and I understand it might with the Veolia contract, I want to say that was because of the questioning by Councilwoman Friedman and Councilwoman Riley. It was the negligence of the majority party that is not going to be, that did nothing for that. And I want to commend them because they've had to endure derision and bullying condescension just to get their ability to do their job.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Okay, again, the number is 772-7100, 772-7100. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your full name and address. Give me 1 second. This is Mary Clark. She lives on Laurel Ave. You may begin.
Hi, I'll first start off by wishing everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day. Normally I'm out doing other things, but saying I can't, I'm here to make a couple of comments. But I wish everyone a happy holiday. Anyway, I have 2 comments. One is my real concern of this contract with a vendor. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the sewage treatment plant, and now this is clearly set up with this private vendor who has an incredibly poor track record. I'm just astounded that we ignore the track record of this company, and we're going to enter into a contract with them after they have serious deficits in many, many other cities. I would think before I hire a contractor to do work in my home, I'd check them out. And if I saw a track record like this, I'd be really weary and I would go out for a different bid and going out to really find someone else. And I think we really need to do this. But I'm also concerned in terms of what we're doing with this audit. It really seems like it's just setting it up to privatize, the management of this plant. And I think that's so disrespectful for the work and the quality of the people who have worked in this plant and have went through a lot of things in terms of really making the plant functioning, and we're going to turn it all over over to a private contractor. And I think this is really dangerous for our city, and we've seen that what has happened in other communities. We have this investment, let's hold it as a public entity so that we control it and not turn it over to private hands. And particularly this private hand, and for you guys to just allow the mayor to enter into these contracts and negotiate that without real oversight is extremely alarming to me. And I would really like you to reconsider actually doing that. The second thing I'd like to comment on is the police, reimagining the police committee. From what we understand is that the mayor has really kind of taken over this process as well, and has introduced what he'd like to see. A lot of the recommendations by the Finn report, by the community at large, has been just ignored. And the mayor has presented the committee with what he would like to see, and they get to red light it and green light it, and they don't actually get to really develop a plan of themselves with the input of the community. And that is really disturbing, that the mayor is pretty much in the sewage treatment plant world and in the police reimagining world. He seems to be completely in charge, and that's really dangerous for our community to, just abdicate our responsibility and turn it over to one person, and that's really disturbing to me. I would also like
You have 1 minute left?
that there is no, somewhere down on your website you find out, oh, there's going to be a public comment. I think you need to make the public comment in regard to the police modernization or the police reimagining actually much more prominent. There needs to be a simple way to comment, like how we're doing tonight is a simple way. How the collaborative, how the committee had run its public comment was almost impossible for people. They had to register ahead of time, get some links, do this, jump through 10 hoops. And I would hope that the public comment is much more accessible, like this kind of public comment, that people can just call in and make a comment without having to pre-register, because there were at least 20 people I know of who weren't allowed to comment last time because they didn't understand the process.
Your time is up.
Okay.
Again, the number to call is 772-7100, 772-7100. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your full name and address. This is Nate Hotchkiss. He lives on 54 Chapin Street. You can begin.
Hi. I'd like to first start out by commenting on the police reform process. So there's an inherent distrust in the Binghamton Police Department, just as there is an inherent distrust in police across the country. Whether or not you would like to argue that this distrust is warranted is besides the point. So despite its flaws, Executive Order 203 gave communities across the state the opportunity to address that inherent distrust. Mayor David has wasted this opportunity, and rather than alleviating distrust, he has just solidified it further. The mayor has handpicked representatives for the steering committee without community input. The mayor waited until January to begin this work, allowing barely 3 months to engage the community, gather feedback, collect information, analyze data, and create a plan, and then vote on that plan. Mayor nominated the Finn Institute as an independent third party without any community input. The survey generated was inadequate, as it did not cover all the topics that were discussed in the public police reform meetings. The steering committee had less than 1 week to review a 100-page report and then incorporate that information into their plan. The steering committee videos were not posted, and they have not been made public. So we're left to play a guessing game as to how they have arrived at this plan, and what deliberation took place in order for that to happen. So we can't accept the results of this process. The process itself was inadequate, and therefore it generated inadequate results. 50% of those who completed this survey reported that the police reform meetings, that they didn't know that the police reform meetings were public or they allowed for community input. How can we even consider this to be inclusive? The viewership of the reform meetings was at best 1% of the city's population. So how can we consider this to be a transparent process? But the mayor's combative nature and labeling activists as anti-police hate group clearly illustrates his position on reforms. He never intended to do this process any justice, and unfortunately for him, the issue of police reform isn't going anywhere. Right now is the time for change, and if the mayor can't see the writing on the wall, he is delusional. The only chance that we have to salvage what has been started that I can see is to allow the steering committee to continue their work for an additional year. So I'd ask City Council to support this effort and give the opportunity for the community to nominate additional members to the steering committee. The second thing I would like to comment on is the current movement of privatization of the wastewater treatment plant. Currently, there hasn't been a reasonable answer as to why this audit needs to happen at this time. I trust the intuition of the workers that this audit is another move towards privatization. The residents of Binghamton and Johnson City have unanimously saw that privatization would be a disastrous move for the cities. So why now is the mayor so eager to support the creation of a local monopoly and sell out Binghamton? I would ask City Council to listen to the workers and the residents. Please resist any further efforts towards privatization. Thank you.
Again, the number to call is 772-7100, 772-7100. You're calling for public comment? Hello? Hello? Let me try to call again. Did not go through. The number is. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your full name and address. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll put you on speaker. This is Gary Edwards. He lives on Clarington Drive. You may begin.
Hi, thank you. Hi, my name is Gary Edwards. I work at the sewage treatment plant. I've worked there for 14 years and some change. I was an operator for 14 years, and now I transferred to the shop, the mechanic shop. I'm a mechanic's assistant. I'm having an issue with the RFP, the Veolia trying to come in and do the audit. It seems like there's only 2 companies that are interested or qualified to do any of this stuff, and it just so happens to be Jacobs and Veolia. Both have tried, or not tried, they put in a bid to privatize the plant. From what I've heard, of course, it's not public knowledge as far as I know, but they all bid the lowest bid, excuse me, was $1.25 million more than we are operating this plant right now. As the other callers have said, Brian Whitbeck, we have passed with flying colors with a DEC. We're doing a great job. The mechanics department is putting in tons of work trying to figure out, what to do, where to do it. We just received the O&M manuals the day the RFP came out, of course, coincidence. I mean, we're just sending money
or trying to send money to these companies, and I'm not understanding why, when we could use it for the workforce, hiring new people, hiring specialized individuals, IT guys, safety guys. We can't hire any of these people. When they tried to privatize, we gave Bruce Toby $250,000 to do oral study. That was news to me as of recent. We all thought it was $140,000. Now we're trying to give Veolia $70,000 for 10 weeks of work when almost everybody at the plant doesn't make that in a year. We're in negotiations on a contract. Nobody wants to give us a raise this year, even though we're $1.25 million less doing the same job that a company wants to come in and do. But we're not worth a raise at all. And I'm just disappointed. The business meeting with Charlie giving his opinion because he was asked of it about the study, and the mayor getting all upset because Charlie gave his opinion. That was very unprofessional. The mayor had his own opinion, and that was okay. I'm just very disappointed that people aren't respecting the workers down there. We work hard. We put in our shifts. We do extra work. We are working on that CMMS. Doing an audit before it's done obviously is ridiculous, because I can tell you now it's not done. So I don't know what else they're looking to find. I think it's just a back door, like everybody else is saying, to try to sneak in so they can privatize or maybe even cover up their mistakes. Maybe somebody should audit the companies that did the work there. That's my suggestion. Spend some money and see what you didn't get from the companies that were supposed to do stuff. $1.9 million to Jacobs for a 2-year extension. There's been one guy there part-time for at least the last 6 months.
You have 1 minute left.
And that's what we get for $1.9 million. And he sits in a room. I beg for you guys, if nothing else, come down, look around, see what we have to do, see what we're doing, see what we have to work with, see how stuff got dropped off to us. Just come down. That's all you have to do. And there won't be any middlemen. You'll see with your own 2 eyes. Thank you very much.
The number to call is 772-7100. Again, it's 772-7100. The number to call is 772-7100. 772-7100. Hi, you're calling for public comment? Okay, please state your full name and address. Okay, give me 1 second, I'll put you on speaker. Okay, this is John Solak. He lives on Lathrop Ave. You may begin.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't think it's asking too much to have the Zukoskis, our police chief, Joe Zukoski, pay his water bill and his taxes on time. I guess maybe he is defunding the police in his own way. Any mayor that had any degree of common sense. And this is a police chief that the public record indicates has been bankrupt at least once, perhaps twice. And, you know, everybody gets into certain situations. But he seems to be, habitually a late payer. Now, that's his right as a human being. He doesn't have to pay his bills, but he also doesn't have to be police chief. So to me, this shows a complete disconnect between the police chief, Joe Zukoski, and the mayor. If I was the mayor, I'd say, Joe, you know, make sure you get those taxes in on time. Make sure you pay your water bill. And that shouldn't, this is a six-figure job he's got, you know. So there's that. Now, the school district is going to be using their money, and I think it's a tell to perhaps the way the city is going to be using the COVID money. Now, first of all, it's a little different. The city school district's budget's upcoming. Yours is already done, which gives you more leverage. You can take all that COVID money spread out over 2 years and return it to the taxpayers. And that's what you should be doing. Now, in the school district, they're using $5 million and $5 million, and their budget is about the same as yours. And and the reason they're doing that, and they have a marginal tax increase of less than 1%. But the reason they're doing that is because without that $5 million, they're looking at going into violating the tax cap and going into having to pass a budget with a supermajority vote, which if you go by my 1,000 votes in the school board election, they couldn't get. So they're terrified of that. $5 million this year, $5 million that year, and they have said that, quite frankly, the third year is going to be a Lollapalooza. So what you need to do is make sure that that money is not spent on making Jared Cram look good. And what we have to go on is every windfall that local governments got, whether it be the tobacco money. They took a situation, Terry Kane and the late Jeff Cram took a situation where there was a $20 million annuity. They borrowed against it. It is now a $60 million debt. So what should have been a great windfall and a great plus for Broome County turned out to be a $60 million debt that is yet to be paid. So this city council better look at the track record of all the flood money and all the money that came in and how it's been wasted. Really, really wasted. Now, on social media, Mr. Abdelazim commented on the business meeting, and it was his opinion expressed that the mayor was on cocaine, that his behavior, and Abdelazim, like the mayor, is their physician's son. So he said that the mayor's breathing, his demeanor, his outbursts were the result of him being coked up. Now, I take that seriously, and I would invite the mayor to give a hair sample immediately to an independent lab on camera in the presence of council.
You have 1 minute
Give that
left.
hair sample, and let's see what it shows. Okay?
The number is 772-7100, 772-7100.
Okay, I think since you're in the bullet, we're going to.
And I have 2 letters to read.
Oh,
Yes, I don't want to.
Thanks.
Okay. 2 letters. The first one is from Beverly Rainforth. She lives on Lincoln Ave. Recently, I read that Mayor David is seeking authorization from City Council to enter into an agreement with Veolia Water North American Operating Services LLC to perform an audit of the maintenance operations at the Binghamton Johnson City Joint Wastewater Treatment Plant. Information in a related post raised several concerns, but rather than rely on the post, I did my own research for information from valid and reliable sources. One concern was about Veolia's involvement in the Flint, Michigan water crisis. Revealed water company and city officials knew about Flint poison risk, The Guardian. Reported the most legal complaints against Veolia were dismissed on technical grounds, but reiterated other issues. Regardless of opinions about the degree of Veolia's responsibility, communications within Veolia suggested that their greatest concern was how to handle what they knew, whether public health threats they recognized were within the scope of their contract, how assertive to be without upsetting city officials. I'm aware of decades-long issues with their wastewater treatment plant, as well as significant improvements made recently. The Guardian article raises concerns for me about whether Veolia is a company with strong values regarding public health, or is it their driving concern to win the next municipal contract and generate profits for investors? When I Googled Veolia, the most prominent post from the company was their stock price. Another concern is that contracting with Veolia is the first step toward privatization. I looked for research on privatization of water treatment services, but most publications were 15 to 20 years old and simply reiterated expected benefits without data on actual results. The best I could find is water privatization facts and figures. Food and Water Watch, among other issues, it reports that water costs 59% more and sewer costs 63% more when services were privatized than when provided as public services. In February, Texas endured widespread electric system failures thanks to Electric Reliability Council of Texas. Although ERCOT is registered as a 401 nonprofit and not an electric company itself, profits not public service power and as ERCOT's failures were destroying buildings and human life, ERCOT was shocking customers with outrageous daily rate hikes from which investors won huge profits. Texas Monthly. The causes and effects in Texas may be unusual and extreme, but they also provide fair warning about handling of vital public services. And the next one is from Don Dornbos. He lives on Prairie Avenue. I'm a resident of Binghamton's West Side and wish to share my opposition to any effort to privatize our local water filtration plant. Water is blue gold and essential to all life. It should be publicly owned, transparently overseen, and with every effort made to avoid commodification and privatization of our water. In my opinion, the profit motive has no business in water. I feel strongly that employees within our water processing facilities should be publicly hired, paid livable wages and benefits so that they can ensure that reliably clean, accessible water is available for all residents of our community. We must ensure that our water infrastructure is maintained to the highest and most durable standards for many generations. Thank you. That was everything.
The preferred agenda at this point. Would anyone like to pull anything from the preferred agenda before we proceed?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Friedman. I would please like to remove introductory resolution 21-21 from the preferred agenda, please.
Grace, can you introduce the preferred agenda items?
Okay. Introductory ordinance 21-28, considered in finance, an ordinance to amend the 2021 budget to create and fund a new golf fund.
Any questions? Okay.
Introductory resolution 21-18, a
Sorry,
resolution.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Councilwoman Friedman. I just wanted to make a quick comment on introductory ordinance 21-28.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you. I just wanted to explain my my reasoning in voting this way. I know that Ely Golf Course has been under private management, and so this is a step to continue in private management of a different company. And even though I don't know if the contract was made available to the public, but we were provided with it. So thank you to Corporation Counsel for acquiescing to that request that was that was made at the work session. I appreciate that. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, the other thing is I don't know why this was expedited necessarily, but you know, I guess I'm okay with voting on it tonight, but I sound like a broken record. I believe that we should save expediting for cases where we will potentially miss a bona fide deadline, or there's new information that is urgent and was recently made available to us. So I do feel like as a whole body, we overuse the tool of expedition. Is that the noun? I think we over expedite things. I believe that we should reserve that for emergency situations only. I urge that we do that going forward, but tonight I feel comfortable voting on this. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Okay. Next is introductory resolution 21-18, a resolution adopting the operational plan for communicable disease.
Any questions? Okay, next.
Introductory resolution 21-19, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into supplemental agreement number 2 with Barton and LaJudas DPC for the construction inspection services for the State Street pedestrian streetscape improvement and State Street signal upgrade. PIN 9754.08.
Any questions? Great, next.
Okay, introductory resolution 21-20, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Wood Fern Florist at 501 Shenango Street in Binghamton for distribution of COVID-19 CARES Act funds in amount not to exceed $7,500.
Any questions?
Introductory resolution 21-22, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Antares Golf LLC as Indigo, FKA as Indigo Golf Partners for comprehensive management of Ely Park Golf Course.
Any questions?
Yes, this is Councilwoman Riley.
Go ahead,
So this is the actual legislation that we were not afforded prior to the work session to actually enter in to the agreement that was kind of expedited. And like my fellow councilwoman, I was concerned about the need to expedite this process. However, after speaking with many residents and speaking with corporate counsel about the possibility of amending the term to a shorter term where assessment is probable, I too feel better about this process. Had we had the information back when our other councilmen started the RFP process, I would have felt a lot better. In fact, we received an email about an RFQ and that launched us into a discussion because we were not aware. And so I encourage all of us to kind of share. You did hear Councilman Scaringi offer his assistance, and I appreciated that as well. Based upon what we have before us, it does say that the contract will be over $800,000, but it is not a significant, well, it is a small variance from what we were paying the previous management company, from my understanding. So again, it's not different from what has occurred previously. Is it difficult to spend on luxury items during this time? Yes. However, from some of my constituents, which is whom I represent, they used golf as an outlet and wanted to use that outlet here in our own city. So again, When I go to vote, I represent those that called about Ely and all the potential that it has, and knowing that we will possibly enact this contract at 3 years with renewal terms based upon the achievement of the goals stated wherein. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I think we need a motion to approve the preferred agenda.
So moved.
So moved,
As amended, correct?
as amended.
Yes, as amended. Yeah. Second.
I got a second? Yeah. Okay. So roll call, please.
Yes. Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Ressinetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes.
Okay, so moving on to our preferred agenda, we have introductory ordinance 21-27 considered in planning. Councilman Strong.
Madam President, should we go back to introductory resolution 21-21, or do you want to do the 21
Okay.
first?
Introductory resolution 21-21 considered in finance.
Okay, I just wanted to ask. Okay. Thank you, Madam President. I ask council for unanimous consideration of introductory resolution 21-21, a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a New York State Division of Criminal Justice grant in the amount of $50,000.
Second.
Any questions? Okay.
Call the
Um,
question, Madam President.
Oh, sorry, Councilwoman Friedman, I'm raising my hand.
Councilwoman Friedman, go ahead. My apologies.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm troubled by this this piece of legislation because it comes amidst our process of reimagining what police looks like. And in my mind and many of my constituents' minds, reimagination does not equal expansion. I am troubled that we found out about this large endeavor to create the Crime Analysis Center from a press release at the same time that, we heard about it before we had any chance to discuss it. And I feel like this process often repeats where we hear about things that are going to happen that require us to vote on legislation before they happen. And then in voicing our dissent or opinions, we are then made out to look like we are obstructing things from happening. So I recognize this is a grant and therefore does not, will not come out of the, the tax roll, but I just can't in good conscience vote for something that expands our police and surveillance in while we are simultaneously discussing ways to make police more accountable and transparent. It just, I can't in good conscience vote to accept this grant money. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Call the question, Madam President.
Question be called? Roll call.
Okay, Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nay.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Ressinetti.
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, 1 nay. Friedman.
Thank you. So, and now we can move on to introductory ordinance 21-27 considered in planning. Mr. Strong.
Thank you, Madam President. Introductory ordinance 21-27 is an ordinance authorizing the sale of 3 and 7 Mattis Street to St. Michael's Greek Catholic Church for $375. This ordinance requires the three motions under seeker. So if I may, I will continue into those 3 motions, and then I'll reintroduce the legislation for consideration.
Excuse me, Councilman, if somebody could just second the motion before we go into seeker.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion to declare the city as lead agency under seeker.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Motion to identify the proposed action as unlisted under seeker.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 A motion to issue a negative declaration under seeker for the following reasons. These are vacant lots on Mattis Street, a side street that intersects with Clinton Street, a commercial street. The purchaser owns the property immediately across Mattis Street at 94 Clinton Street and 6 Mattis Street. The proposed use is green space. The transfer will preserve green space and provide for future maintenance.
Second.
Second.
Okay, so we now need a full. Yes. I will do it.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Rassanetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes.
Okay, so the seeker motion passes. Councilman Strong, please continue.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask council for unanimous consideration of introductory ordinance 21-27, an ordinance authorizing the sale of 3 and 7 Mattis Street to St. Michael's Greek Catholic Church for $375.
Second.
Any questions? Okay,
Call the question, Madam President.
roll call, please.
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Strawn,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Rassanetti.
Aye.
That's 7 ayes.
Okay, thank you. We now move on into council member comments, and tonight we'll start with District 7, who's Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Madam President. So, again, just said one topic, it's the sewage treatment plant. Over the years, I've talked to numerous workers there, Elliot Wagner, people on the board. I never have been, and I certainly not today, in favor of privatization. This audit that is going to be hopefully passed and conducted, it's going to be a baseline. So, and I don't really care what the audit reveals. It doesn't matter. They're not going to be dinged for things they didn't have, for manuals they didn't have. That's not going to happen. So, having said that, the follow-up audit, which there will be one sometime, if the things that are addressed in this audit going on, that'll go on hopefully in the next 2 months, if they're addressed and they're not taken care of in the second audit, then I have to rethink my position about privatization. But again, I'm not for privatization. I never have been. I'm not looking to do that in this audit. I just think we should start a baseline. Therefore, we know what needs to be corrected and move on. That's all I'm looking for here. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Now moving on to Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. Later in the year, St. Patrick's Day. And just want to thank all of the residents, the members, the leagues, and everyone in City Hall and in the ward and in the first district who have helped to get us to this point. And hopefully this is going to be a positive forward movement for the Ely Park Golf Course. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilman Riley.
Thank you, Madam President. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. If you guys can remember, this was our first parade and kind of group ceremony just a year ago where we all bunched up without fear, celebrating all that was happening in this city. I looked at a memory picture as we all laughed. I think most of us were there in that picture, and it was a great time. I hope that those that are celebrating remain safe and do so with the hope of continuing to flatten the curve. I want to continue to celebrate my neighbors as they continue to rally around various issues and causes that are affecting them and the entire 3rd District, which then ultimately affects the entire city. I thank you for your vigilance. I thank you for your calls, and we're going to continue to press to get things answered. In that same vein, I thank the city workers, DPW, who went out to assist a young lady who had a dump of bushes, and Code, who responded to the issues that you guys know happen commonly in the north of Maine area. And so they have been working hand in hand based upon the residents' calls and concerns, and we will continue to do that. So I thank you all. I do also want to mention the callers. We thank you tonight because there was a caller that mentioned the continuance of the collaborative membership. And in this continuation, to consider the nominations of members to the committee. I think that's critical because this committee, as it's currently comprised, was based upon guidance from the governor and the mayor. So it would be nice to be able to recommend participants as this committee progresses to achieving the reimagination that was called in Executive Order 203. Again, I won't be before you long. I thank you all. I also want to thank the Joint Sewage Treatment Plant workers who have given us things to think about. And we will also continue to inquire. Remember, we were there with you at the plant. We toured and we were proud of that tour and proud of what we saw during that tour. So we will continue to ask questions on your behalf as well. I thank you, and that concludes my presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to thank all of the callers that called in for public comment. We had a particularly lively public comment session, which is always my personal favorite part of the meeting when I get to hear from a lot of constituents. So thank you, everybody who not only called in, but is listening and keeping us accountable for the way that we vote, keeping us accountable to our constituents and their livelihoods. People are paying attention, and not only paying attention to what we have done, but where the trajectory is going, where we might be going. Okay, if we vote on this, what does that mean in the future? So I appreciate everybody who took the time not only to call in, but also do research on things that are affecting the community and even beyond. You know, the issues with the sewage treatment plant don't just affect Binghamton and Johnson City. It's everybody who's downriver from us as well. So thank you for your continued engagement and keeping us accountable. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that I, as well as Councilwoman Riley, recently received calls from the representatives from the Asian student unions on BU's campus. So a lot of them do live in Councilwoman Riley's district. Some live in my district as well. But they called to bring awareness to anti-Asian American hate that has been on the rise since the coronavirus originated in China. A lot of people have been using that as justification for anti-Asian hate. And I also heard, I haven't read the details on this, but I did hear about a hate crime that happened today, I think, or yesterday, when there was a white man who killed something like 8 Asian American women who were working in a massage parlor. And it reminds us that racism is unfortunately alive and well. So I hope to be working on ways to curb that. And I also wanted to thank the BU students for reaching out to their governmental representatives, which is a step that a lot of students don't take. And I don't mean that as a disparaging comment. I mean, like, as a former student activist, that wasn't a step that I thought to take much. So I just want to applaud everybody for being continuously involved and engaged in the governmental process. And happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to just echo what my fellow councilors have talked about with the sewage treatment plant. To the employees, if we're going to have your back, you guys, the men and women over there. If this baseline that's going to come up, I feel that if you're doing your job, we've got your back. So you can count on that. Also, to the constituents, I got a lot of calls about the snow melted and then the garbage appears. And it happens every spring, and the city is going as quickly as they can. The DPW, there was two things that were very egregious here on the south side I got calls about. I went over and looked. I called DPW, and they came over and they fixed it. So thank you for that. So if there is something very egregious out there, give one of us a call, and I think we can help you out. Then happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. I had a nice time at St. Pat's Church today. My great-grandparents were married there in 1888. So I love going in that church, and had a nice time over there. And then I went into a restaurant on the south side, and at one corner of the bar, when I first went in, before we sat down, I stood at the bar there. I've been fully vaccinated, and I had 4 friends that were there. All of us and the bartender were all vaccinated, and it felt like so normal. And I'm really looking forward to this darn virus being gone. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you. And now we're moving on to Councilman Straw.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to touch on 3 things very briefly. I think I want to echo, I think I understand what Councilman Scanlon was saying, and to a certain degree, Councilman Burns. I don't view the audit of the maintenance issues as synonymous with privatization. At least that's my personal view. I like the idea of getting a baseline that will develop into a maintenance plan. Maybe I'm looking at it too simplistically, but I do not view that, for me personally, as a step necessarily toward privatization. I do want to thank the people that called in. It is easy to assume when you do what you do at your house and you turn the water on or you flush the toilet or whatever, and you just assume that. I appreciate them calling in. I appreciate their passion for their work. And I do want to thank them for their work, similar to Public Works. I think that was a fair comment that gentleman made, and I want to acknowledge that we do appreciate that. And as Councilman Burns said, I think we do have their back. I think having a maintenance plan is wise. The timing of it, I can understand thinking that maybe it's a little too early for it, but I do believe that having a plan to do that is wise. So I just wanted to mention that on that subject. On Ely Park, very briefly, I just wanted to state that I did not get involved on a path to look into that because I was a city councilman. I happened to be a city councilman that was playing in a golf league and witnessed personally Councilman Scaringi meeting with his constituents at Ely Park as part of being the first district representative. And then I walked over and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And so I appreciated seeing him in action, actually meeting on site with his constituents. And then, of course, being on city council and, enjoying Ely Park, I'm glad that we got to this point. I appreciate the whole council looking at this and looking at it expeditiously. I know it could be considered a luxury item, but it's also a major asset of the city. And I think we've done a good job as a council over the last year plus trying to protect and being good stewards of our city assets. whether they're considered luxury or parks or whatnot. I think that they all work together in a way to make the city a more attractive place to be and be a resident of, and attract people from out of the city. The last thing on just a functional note, I've noticed that there's about 17 streetlights that are out between approximately Thirsties and Tremont on 434 as you pass the number 5. So if you go down that area and you see how dark it is, I have addressed that with the mayor's office, and the city is working on it. It's probably an electrical issue because there's so many in the same area, but if you happen to drive there at night, you will see how many streetlights are out, at least 16 to 17 streetlights out between Thirsties on 434 and where 434 spurs off toward Tremont and Conklin Ave. So we are aware of that situation if anybody's walking at night and sees how dark it is, and hopefully we can address that problem relatively quickly. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Strong. Yeah, so thank you, everyone. I also wanted to just quickly echo what was just said by more than one regarding the maintenance plan audit not being equal to privatization. And I do want to say that I hear the callers, and I'm talking specifically those who work there, the employees, who are good people and hardworking people. And because of that, that's yet another reason why it's so important to have all options and to be considering all options, in addition, obviously, to protecting taxpayers' $250 million project investment. So I just want to say thank you for calling. You know, we're listening, and just to kind of echo what everybody said regarding that. So just, I wanted to go back to DPW for a second. First of all, thank you for everything that you do. And, you know, I didn't mention this last time we were here. I forgot. I'm so sorry. I wanted to say a big thank you to DPW Commissioner John Paddock and Supervisor Tom Keller, who allowed me the opportunity to tour the Public Works Garage and to tour and, you know, to just have a really detailed discussion about their needs, their challenges, and everything that they go through during the season, the snowy season for the most part. We never thank them enough. They don't get enough credit. And the truth is, you know, the snow, well, hopefully has ended for this season. You know, the work continues. And just a big thank you. Additionally, I wanted to just quick shout out to my fellow social workers out there. Yesterday was National Social Work Day, and March is the month that when we celebrate social work and everything that we do. Obviously, I'm a little biased being a social worker. The theme this year has been social workers are essential. And I would say absolutely 100%. We do not do as social workers what we do for the money. We don't do it for the prestige. We just do it because we care. And I'm proud to have a small role to play in the assisting the next generation of social workers. They are going to be out there in the front lines fighting those who are battling injustice, poverty, discrimination. The list goes on and on and on. And I'm very proud. So I just wanted to say that. And with that, the days are getting longer. The temperatures are a little more bearable. Be safe, enjoy St. Patrick's Day, and have a good night. Thank you all. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.